This is our Coming Home Bundle Christmas Village class, and I want to start out really quickly with the balsa wood village because it's not covered in the PDFs that I've sent you. But first of all, I want to make note that I've made a mistake here, and so the second one is the roof on the small house, and it is 3/4 inch wide and 2 inches long, and it's scored at 1 inch. And the other thing that I've noticed when I've been making the houses is in the large house, a strip for the roof of 7/8 inch might be better. But I want to show you that even though I made that mistake with 1 inch, I just went ahead and trimmed it. So it was extending out, 1/8 of an inch more. So I just clipped it off. But 7/8 will give you a much better proportion. Okay, so I might come back to that. Well, I will when we hit the houses again. But I want to show you first the village, and let's see, I should get my sample. Just a moment. I hope it's here. Oh, no, it's not. So I'll send you a picture of it at the end. But anyway, first thing you want to do is, if you prefer, you can sand this. I've never really bothered to do that. The other thing that might be nice to sand is inside here. Again, I'm pretty lazy, so I didn't do that. I mean, there's all sorts of weird ways that I will fix things like this, or even take my X-Acto knife to it. So I'm not a precision gal, but on this one, you can cut strips that are as wide as each one of these slats and glue them down and fold them over the edge like that. So you're cutting them long enough to fit over the edge. So that's how that would be done. You would just use your regular Tombow glue with that. And the way that I like to apply glue to these kind of balsa wood pieces is to paintbrush them on. And then you can get a nice layer. And so I'll just demo that for right now. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, let's see, I don't have it anymore. I've discovered that if you save the backing of your dimensionals, it makes a good palette for glue. But of course I don't have that one right now. I am good at throwing things away too soon. So here's my glob of glue, and I'll show you how I glue it on this particular one. Now, what you want to remember is, with your double-sided paper, that you position it. This is the way I want my tree to look on my piece. So that means if I want this color, then I need to turn this upside down. Is that right? No. I need to go like that so that I know I'm going to get the right color. So that means I am going to be applying glue in the direction that I want it, and then putting it face down on the back. Oh, you can't see that. So I'm just taking my paintbrush, and it helps me get the just a right amount of glue. Now you'll see this has this intricate snowman in here, and I'm very, I just use artistic license of which edges I want to cut out. I am not going to bother with this itty bitty bitty snowman, and I probably could stand to have a little bit more glue, but I think that's fine. And I think with this one, I actually want the stripe. So I'm going to put it on the back of the green. So I have striped trees. So that's just going to get glued down like that. And you might want to weight it down. It depends on how much glue you have on it. but it ought to dry really flat. Let it dry for a good hour, maybe even an afternoon, and make sure that that's really dry, because when it comes time to cutting out the paper, you'll have a much better time. I'm going to move all of this out of the way, and this particular back is a cutting board often used for the quilting people like myself. So let's see, I do have an X-Acto knife here. Okay, so the light is a little bright. Let's see if I can make that better. And I'm just going to extend my point beyond the wood. And let's see if I turned on this light, if it would be better. Not really. It's this pattern. So then I'm going to go into the corners and drag outward. And drag outward. And if your blade is really sharp, honestly, you should not have to press very hard. You'll get a hang of it. But the first thing that's important is taking the tip of the knife and really getting it in the paper, and then pull gently along the edge. Now I've come up to a corner, so I'm going to turn and I'm going to start in the corner and go back. When I was in graphic design school, oh my gosh, we cut with X-Acto knives all the time. Now this one's tight, so we're a little tiny cut and a little tiny cut and around and around. Let's see how well I did. Keep forgetting where the camera is. And when you come to the tips, remember to go just beyond it. Boy, my knife is sharper than I could ever have hoped for. It's going like butter. And every once in a while, whoop, there goes the blade. That is what not to do. I think I need to tighten this more, obviously. And that was done. Okay, did I go all the way around the horn? Yes, I did. Oh, right. I was like, how come I don't have stripes? Oh, this is the other one. I'm behind myself. Okay. And I can kind of push it from the top and come up in these corners and just shave off a little bit of it. There. Now, I can decide how much detail I really want out of this. I think I'm going to forget all about the little triangles inside here. I'm a little bit pickier than I used to be, or less picky. So I like all of the layers of this village, so I do want the windows out. And I might have to go around all the corners a couple times to make sure. And this is probably where it's a little more important to have a nice sharp scissor or knife, because the DSP, the white will show once you have cut it out. But the other thing you could do is come in with a matching marker and clean up lighter, much lighter. You'd want to go with a light color instead of the dark. It's always soaks in more than you think it will. My friend, who does a lot of paper art for Disney, he has a gigantic jar filled with blades. The tips are the first to go. So You have extra blades. This might be what you want to save toward the end. I can't even remember which things I've cut yet. And I work too quickly for my own good, so don't pay attention to how speedy I'm doing this. I'm not a precision person, except when it comes to knitting. I've gotten so that I am not in a hurry about that anymore. I used to zip through that knitting. Oh, it's just like, I can't wait for this to be done. Yeah, that's pretty ragged, if you could see it up close. And then the curved edges are always a delight. But if you... What I do is I will kind of layer my strokes. So I make sure that I can come around this corner fairly cleanly. And down here. How did I do? Pretty good. Okay, that's the gluing and the cutting. I would do the window too. And then after it's all finished, they get stuck inside here. And this is where, because we've added paper, it's made it ever so much thicker. And so I would come along the back, and this is for not the faint of heart, but you just kind of shave off. Do this at the end, because when you decide where you want all your houses, you may or may not need to shave off. If you have some really gritty sandpaper, then that would probably be a better idea. But again, this is terrible. I just use whatever I have in front of me. See, so that makes it just pop right in there. And depending on, they're thicker and thinner in different spots. But decide where you want everything, or trim everything down and just play with your arrangement. And I'll come back on at the end here and give you another, well, actually I'm going to go get it now. I'm going to put on stop record. And that's about it, I think. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. So if you have any questions, you know, you can comment or write me an email. Okay, we're done with that. And now we're moving on to constructing the village. A couple different things that I have learned in the making here that are just slightly different than the samples is how I made the trees. Now, I had originally taken regular Whisper White cardstock and stamped on both sides. But even though this is thick cardstock that I'm using now, I'm using shaded spruce right here. I'm going to cut out 2 trees for each panel. So it's a total of 4. And then I'm going to glue them together after I've cut them out. So here's the little cute little mini cutter. And I just got this last month, and it's a pretty cool toy. Here's the base plate, and then it uses 2 of the number 2 plates, and definitely at this point want to be using a little bit of washi tape to hold these down. my next plate over that. It is like the cutest little toy ever. Come on now. There we go. I don't have those plates in there, right? So that's why it's all goofy, but okay. Except when your washi tape sticks to your paper. Too much. Okay. So, for the sake of speed, I'm going to cut these out. To show you how they get put together. I'm going to get glue on these. I better put them away. I can just tell. I can feel it. It's going to happen. My recorder on my InSwan doesn't have a pause button. I just, figured that out today as I was doing this with you. And it kind of bums me out a little bit because there's some of this stuff you just don't need to watch me do. But I did the playback on the Wood Village, and actually it is kind of fun to watch somebody do stuff. Do you know that there are videos of just people knitting or people doing Zentangle but I watch them and I'm like, oh, this could use up my day. Now, of course, if I had cut these out with the beautiful little stitch triangle dies, we'd have a different story. Okay, now for this I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. Do I have a metal edge? Yes, but not right here. Okay, I'm just going to guesstimate it. Now I have still that same cutting mat underneath here. So I'm going to cut down the middle of this one on the bottom half. And I'm going to cut up the top half of the other one. Now a pair of scissors probably would be just fine, but that gets me a pretty clean edge. So they will fit into each other like this. And I guess a good snug fit is a good idea. Come on. Help a girl out here. There we go. Yeah, that is snug. That is a snug fit. Okay, this one needs to be higher. Wow. Okay. My excuse is that the pattern makes it hard to see. There we go. And there's my tree. Have to play with that a little bit. there's the tree. Okay. All right, on to the houses. I have stamped out this house, and I'm going to place this on my cutting mat first. See if that'll help me get my sandwich better. Now, of course, I've realized that every time I use this smaller one, I have to cut my paper. So there's that, which I'm sure is not a huge surprise to you, but thought, okay, there's just a tiny bit more prep. It's such a short little handle. Okay. There's that little guy. And I'm going to cut out another one. I thought I would just go ahead and kind of work through this as you would, because I've, practiced doing these little presentations. Ha, can you tell? I don't know if you can tell, but to try to make sure I included all of the little pieces. And it's just easier to go step by step because I'm always leaving something out. Okay, so now I have my two pieces of my house. And next comes all of the scoring and cutting. Now this large one has these dimensions. I have this piece that I'm ready to cut for my house part. So I'm going to cut it 1 3/4 inches wide. There we go. Nope. 1 3/4 inches wide. And it is, need to have it 4 1/4 long, which it is. Okay, now it's going to be scored at 1/4. So I'm going to come in at this edge for the 1/4 and then turn it around. The next one is at 1. And then at 2 1/4. And then at 3. And then they get folded on those score lines. And this is the only spot you'll glue for the base of the house frame, maybe. And kind of just move it back and forth. Right there. Oop, I stopped to adjust the focus and boom, it was ready to go. Okay, now this back house, or I should say the back wall, I'm just going to trim off that chimney. Makes it a little difficult with the roof. I decided to demo this one because the roof gluing on this one is the trickiest. For me anyway. Okay, that's lining up pretty good. Now the other half. Not liking how that's going on. Okay, let's try it this way. Okay, I could fiddle with that more, but I'm embarrassed I don't have it on there right. Okay. Okay, there it is, and here's the roof. Now when I glue the roof, it's pretty difficult to get this on there so that it's even. So what happens is, this is probably more meticulous than you would even hope to do, but I didn't want the chimney on the back. So now this is a little too high. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay. So I'm going to glue this one on here like this. It goes on the top of this one. Oh, I forgot to show you my trick. Line of glue and dip the edge of the back house in the glue. Get a nice little fine line. And then the front, is that how it goes? Yes. Then on the roof, one side of the roof. Okay, moment of truth. It goes over the top of the back and up to the front of the house. The top of the back now my roof is too wide. And hold it for a few seconds. Please work for the movie. There it is. And then I put my wreath on with the dimensional. Now, one thing I forgot to do with this is I forgot to stamp the snowflakes. So we're going to do that with the next one. This large house, we'll save the easier one for later. This one's already scored. Set that aside for a minute. And you can see that the height of them matches the roof line. So that's the name of that. So this box has already been done. And for this roof, much easier. But we want to stamp the little snowflakes on here. Excellent opportunity for glitter. This is crumb cake. So again, I'm going to get some fresh glue on here. And I'm going to dip each edge of the roof line. Whoop. And that goes on there like that. Takes about 30 seconds for that to really set. Okay, now I wanted to show you what I've done with the gingerbread type. Your trees can be like this, all formed. It's almost like a pipe cleaner. Need to get that all straightened out. But here I've just attached one to the back with the dimensionals. And this is all done with heat embossing. I feel like I could make a condominium. Just stack these up. And here they all are. I think those are kind of cute. There they are, the houses. Okay, now the backyard scene is this piece, cut preferably thick cardstock also. And your long piece here will be a strip that's 3/4 of an inch wide and it's 5.5 inches long. The tabs are folded in and glued so that it can set as a background to your trees, your houses. Okay, I want to move on quickly now to this card. This one, for me, is really a fun card. And I gave you the pieces for this. You might have already made it, but I wanted you to see quickly how I put this together. So each DSP piece has been glued to the top of the card and the inside of the card. And then I have scored it, and I believe that is 1 1/4. Yes, scored it at 1 1/4. So it will be a snowy field. And what I want to do first is glue on the front snowy scene right here. So either it helps to double up on the Whisper White or to get the Whisper White thick cardstock for that one. And then I have cut out my house. This time I just did it in blue. And I also, on this card, I cut out some additional trees right there. And I'm going to, the sentiment is going to be this direction over the snow. So I am going to put my sentiment on here. This happens to be Pacific Point. And I want it to be just about there. Let it dry for a second. And I've got this comes first, then the sentiment piece comes next. I'm going to put dimensionals on that. Probably dimensionals are more important toward the straight edge, so that you can make sure that card stands up nice and straight. And I'm going to hold my card upright and line up my sentiment piece along there. And that's how my card stands up. I want my house to be above the snowdrift, and so I use dimensionals on that too, for not too high to the top, because that's going to clear the landscape piece. And then I'm going to put another dimensional on my wreath. And I'm going to position this while it's open where I would like it to be. So it sits on top of the snow right there. And then my, in this card, you can see my wreath, I colored in the center, so it would look like I cut out the center. Not really necessary on this one. And there's the card. I really do think it looks nice with some additional trees there, but you could put some rhinestones. I know I have some. Oh, and then I have snowflakes too. Snowflakes, how cute. This is not the right color, but you know, just stick them on here. Probably, I've got all my doodahs in a little tray up there. Oh, here's some blue ones. That's what I should have used. Let's see, use my fancy tool here, little spatula. Let's see if this will work for me. There. There you go, that's a nice card. This might take another 15 cents postage, as long as it doesn't, it might be thicker, but it's not heavy. Okay, and I wanted to show you another couple samples. Here's one using the Triangle and Stitched Triangle dies. This is the velvet paper that comes in the annual catalog, and this is the clear epoxy drops. And I think that came from the Triangle stamp set. I think it did. Here is the two that was in your PDF. This one is embossing folder of the textures and layering the trees and that fun little house. This was a sample card from my club, from Ruth Bingle. I like that one a lot. And then this one is with a retired now. I think you can still find it in the clearance or the end year. But this is, I smear Versamark on the paper. That's what I did before I even made the card. Smeared it on there and put clear embossing powder on there. And incidentally, it had a little bit of, you probably can't see that, had a little flecks of white, so that was okay with me, mixed in there. And then all this is layered like that. So this is a really fun set. I really am bummed that it's not being extended, but hey, we got it in time. So there is your class, ladies. So please email me if you have any questions. Lots of moving parts for this one. Thank you very much for taking this class. I'm sorry very sorry we could not do the Zoom. I would much have rather talked with you than mumbled my way through this. But I thank you for watching, and I hope I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.